Hi, this is Ryan from Rad Ideas with another installment of Ask Rad Ideas. And today I'd like to talk about a question I received about how do I go about reaching older congregation while still trying to communicate with the younger generation that we want to be bringing in. So, I've gotten this question in really a couple different forms, and they all come down to the same basic idea of how do we communicate with multiple generations within our church at the same time. Now, I have to start by saying I understand this challenge. I struggled with it myself when I was in a full-time church position, and really it comes down to that time is short, your resources are tight, and you want to really get as much as possible out of your communication, time, and dollars. So we try and create a single promotion that's going to reach everyone. But the challenge is that not every generation listens in the same way. They're looking at different pieces of information, different sources of information. So when we try to communicate to multiple generations at the same time, no one hears exactly what they need to hear, and so they really start to tune us out. So my response is stop trying to communicate to every generation at the same time. And here's why. The majority of things your church offers don't apply to everyone. You've got youth events for youth, you've got adult events for adults, you've got kids events. Now, for kids events, the adults need to know so the kids can be a part, but you don't need to use the same communication channels for absolutely everything, because when you share everything to everyone, nothing gets heard. People just start tuning you out because they don't know when you're talking to them and when you're talking to someone else. They just don't have the bandwidth. So the key to reaching multiple generations is you've got to share with them in different ways. So how can we do that without completely overburdening ourselves? Well, you start by determining how the generation you're trying to reach currently gets information, and you deliver it in that way. Now, here's what I mean. Now, older congregation members, they're going to be looking primarily at a little bit older communication style. They're still reading newspapers. They're the ones who pick up that weekly bulletin every week. They're looking for personal invitations. They even would respond to phone trees sometimes or phone calls. It just depends on how old that group is. So you've got to communicate with them one way, but a younger generation, they're looking for information through email and text messaging, through social media, and even your website. So if you put info about a youth event in the bulletin, it's probably only going to be seen by a couple of teenagers who happen to be stuck in service with their parents. But if you send details out through social media and you text information, you're going to get a high response because it's an area that they're listening to. But at the same time, if you emailed information about a retired folks event, or let's say a potluck or something like that, email's not going to work because it's not their preferred medium and choice of getting information about your church. Now, they may be using it, and you may have a few that are incredibly tech savvy, but by and large, generationally, it's not the choice way to reach them. So, you need to communicate with your audience through their preferred source of information, and you'll get higher response rates. So, does this mean you're going to have a little more work to do? Well, probably so. But the trade-off is that you're no longer wasting time creating promotions that are just getting ignored. You're creating them in a targeted way to reach the exact people who need the information. Now, one caveat is, if you are creating something that happens to be an all-church event and everyone needs to know about it, say something at the park and you're doing baptisms and that kind of stuff and everyone is invited, well then by all means you can share the same information, but you want to make sure you deliver that information in a multitude of different ways so that you reach each person once again in the way that is their preferred way of getting information. Once again, my name is Ryan, and I'm with Rad Ideas, and each week I try and answer questions that have been submitted by listeners. And if you've got a question, something you've been struggling with in your church communications, you just need some help and direction to get past a specific issue, or you're just curious about something, let me know. There's a link below. I would love to have your question, your contact info, so I can get a hold of you and get some resources into your hand to solve those problems.